What's the story, Morning Glory? What's the word, Hummingbird? Thank you so much for clicking on my channel and for joining me for another review of Married at First Sight, Season 14, Episode 8, Striking a Balance. Let's start off with Alyssa and Chris. Now, as much as I enjoyed watching Chris again, I did not enjoy watching Alyssa, but I know that you can't have one without the other, so I have to take the bad with the good. Let's start off with Chris. Let's start with the good news first. So Chris tells his mother that he's decided to get a divorce from Alyssa. He explains to his mother all the issues that they had, and it's a consensus among everybody that she wasn't physically attracted to him as soon as she saw him, and so she was just trying to find whatever excuse that she could to not be with him. The mother was like, good riddance to bad rubbish. You did not need that in your life. And so this is a positive, good outcome. And Chris is fine with it. I know I'm fine with it. And we are going to move on. Alyssa meets with her friend, which is weird to me that they had her meet with a friend that wasn't even at the wedding, that didn't even meet Chris. But that's the friend that they have her meet with to announce that she's getting a divorce or to talk about her divorce. And the friend had no frame of reference whatsoever. She never met Chris. She wasn't at the wedding. She didn't see any kind of interaction between Chris and Alyssa. So the friend was just basically like a sounding board for her. In true Alyssa fashion, she lied about everything. She put all the blame on him. She was the poor innocent victim who was just trying to give it, her best shot, who was just going to try and give it her all to make this marriage work. But he was the one that decided to throw in the towel and give up. So she says she's going to be moving to Texas to go find her cowboy. And all I can say to that is Texas, you have been warned. Moving on to Jasmina and Michael. This is the first time that I've actually watched Jasmina and Michael without feeling what's the word, I don't want to say cringy, but without having that secondhand embarrassment for Michael, because the whole entire time that I've been watching this couple, I've always felt like Michael was really trying to give it his best, and Jasmina was being super duper cautious to the point where she seemed kind of distant from him. So this is the first time that I actually saw them kind of warm up to each other, and I really did appreciate that. So first, Michael meets with his sister, tells his sister what's been happening thus far, and the sister was very encouraging. I thought the sister gave wonderful advice. His sister said, well, she really doesn't know you, and so y'all are still trying to figure each other out. So she's just trying to like protect her space, and she is the type of woman that can be open and very vulnerable, but being open and vulnerable probably also causes her like fear or something. So she gets kind of protective when I guess when she feels like, I don't know, that they're having this conflict or that they're having a problem, she kind of puts up these walls to basically like kind of protect herself. And the sister basically tells him, I just need you to be patient with her, just communicate with her and understand that just if you see her pulling away or if you see her not really responding to you, it's not that she's giving up or that she doesn't like you or whatever. Just allow her to do her thing and just continue to communicate with her. I think I kind of summed that up in a nutshell. So Jasmina meets with her friend who has been engaged for 8 years. I mean, at this point, girl, maybe I don't understand these decades long engagements. I mean, why don't you just say common law or just say we're boyfriend and girlfriend? We've been dating for 8 years, or we're common law, husband and wife. Why are you like engaged? To me, an engagement means that something is about to happen soon, like a wedding or a breakup. Either we're going to get married or we're going to break up. It's not like, oh, this is very comfortable, let's just stay in this engagement phase forever. By this time, y'all are basically common law. So anyways, whenever Jasmina told her friend that, he always wants to be right, her friend told her, yeah, just like you. So they have more in common, or they are more alike than than Jasmina will admit to. They have a lot in common with their attitudes and their personalities. So she tells her friend about, his tone, how she doesn't like the tone that he uses when he's upset. And the friend made a joke about, yeah, you don't like any kind of tone at all. And then Jasmina also told her friend about the roommate, how when she went to go visit his apartment, that's when she first discovered that he had two female roommates. And the friend was basically like, well, maybe he thought that that would put a wedge between you and him if he told you that his roommates were female, or you would pull away from him or give up on him if he found out that you were living with two females. And Jasmina's point has always been, I don't care about him living with females because she has a male roommate. I just need him to be honest, which, that's like 1,000% correct. Then they have a house party, and his friends came over. I think like one or two of his friends came over. A couple of her friends came over, and the friends were asking them, so how are things going? And they talked about Pastor Cal had come over and basically had set the reset button for them. And because of that, Pastor Cal telling them to just start over, leave the past in the past, it really helped their relationship. So they've decided to just kind of move forward and start new. Now, what I liked about this particular scene with the friends is that we get to see Michael's fun side for the first time. He was actually fun, and he was actually, trying to be funny, and it was refreshing. And I saw him and Jasmina getting along better, and they were like really jokey with each other, and they acted like an actual couple instead of like two strangers who didn't know what to do with each other. So I really enjoyed Jasmina and Michael in this episode. So the friends tell him the advice that they give to him about Jasmina is that if there's conflict, to just talk to her, figure out what the problem is, and don't do the blame thing. Like, well, you said this and you did that. If there's conflict between you and her, communicate with her. Don't walk away. Don't leave her alone. Don't just disappear on her. Don't blame. Just communicate with her, figure out what the problem is, and try to find a solution. Ask her, where did we go wrong and how can we fix this? Jasmina says that she tells his sister that she was too much in her head. And now that she's, not doing that anymore, she's like, I guess, optimistically hopeful that things are definitely improving between them. And also what I liked with the scene between Jasmina and Michael's sister is that she actually told the sister, she says, you know what, I actually like him. I really do like him. And the sister was like, oh, thank God, because he told me he was worried, he didn't know whether or not you really liked him. Moving on to Mark and Lindsey. Okay, Mark and Lindsey, they're beginning to stress me out. Okay. When their scenes are starting, I'm feeling a lot of stress. So Mark is not used to Lindsey's abrasiveness, her bluntness, her sharp tongue. He's like trying to get adjusted to all of that. Mark is actually meeting with one of his friends, and this is what he tells his friend, that he's just still not used to her craziness. And Mark wonders if Lindsey is even like aware of her behavior. Because it seems like the way she acts, she thinks that she's in the right and everybody else is in the wrong. And it's like she's not even aware how she's coming across to other civilized people. And his friend mentioned, well, whenever you're in a relationship, you're normally the one that will say, I love you first. And Mark said, yeah, not in this situation. No, it's not going to be happening in this situation. And he says that if him and Lindsey were dating, this would have been the time that he would have broken up with her. He would have had it with her. I feel bad for Mark. I really do feel bad for Mark. I feel bad for Mark because Lindsey has lived in a world where she has brainwashed everybody around her into thinking that her way is the right way. Her craziness, her abrasiveness, her bluntness, her the way that, her whole thing of, well, I just tell her like it is. I say what's on my mind. I don't sweep things under the rug. I confront things head on. So she's convinced everybody that this is the way to be and that everybody else is wrong if you don't see things that way, if you don't resolve conflict that way. If you see someone doing something and you don't confront them, even if it's a complete stranger, and you don't rush up to them and have it out with them, then you're wrong if you don't do that. So she's convinced people around her that this is okay. okay. And Mark is like, wait a minute, am I in the Twilight Zone? Because this is so not right. The way you handle things is just completely not right. Oh, and Mark also tells his friend about the incident with Olajuwon on the plane. And it happened just exactly as I thought it happened, where I felt like, and Mark confirmed this, that Lindsey kept on poking Olajuwon until it came to strike three, and then he struck back with his mouth, not with his hands or anything. So he was trying to ignore her. He was trying to let things slide. He was trying to, like, excuse me, I don't agree with you. Please respectfully get the hell away from me. But she just kept on pushing. I don't know why. I guess she was drunk, or she just had to prove that she was right, that you have to speak Spanish in Puerto Rico, even though it is a territory of the United States and they speak English there. So she pushed him into a corner, and he gave back exactly what she was dishing out, and then all hell ensued. So he's not, obviously Mark is not used to that. He doesn't like that. I'm only bringing this up because he's shedding a little bit more light on what happened on the plane, because that part wasn't filmed. So they also have a house party, and Mark asks her friends for advice on how to reel her in when she gets kind of crazy like this. And I didn't like the advice that her friends gave Mark. They actually said to him, well, don't tell her she's doing it wrong. Just be open with her and communicate with her. So let her know that she's messing up without letting her know that she's messing up. That is too stressful. That is too complicated. Ain't nobody got time for that. She needs to be told what's going on. She needs to be told the what's up. If she's acting out of order, she needs to be told, you're acting out of order. This is unacceptable behavior. Not reeling her back in a way that she's not really aware that you're trying to reel her back in. What the hell is this all about? No, we don't have time for this kind of I don't know what you call this, these mind games, this secret manipulation of people. We were trying to live normal, regular, schmegular lives here. No one has that kind of time to sit there and figure out, okay, she's about to punch that woman in the face because she bumped into her and spilled her drink. So how do I convince her without letting her know that violence is not the answer? No, we don't have time for that. No, either she knows how to behave, or we're not going to hang out with her. You're not going to spend time with her. You're going to leave. So moving on to Noi and Steve. So Steve is in between jobs. First he says he's in between jobs. Then he says he's not working. Okay, Steve, you're unemployed. Say it with me. You are unemployed. Don't sugarcoat it. This in between jobs thing, freelancer, I pick up work when no, you're unemployed. You're unemployed and unwilling to work. There's too many uns when it comes to describing you, and I'm having a problem with that. So he says he's in between jobs, and when did this happen? So I remember him also telling someone, I don't know if it was her family or her, but I remember him saying that he does freelance work, and anytime he needs to pick up work, he can, because he can do photography, he can do, and he named like a list of things that he's capable of doing. The thing that he did not list of what he could be capable of doing was sales engineering, which was his career. He doesn't mention that. He talks about all these little odd job things, I guess, that he could do, whenever he felt like it, all this, artsy freelance stuff. And if it's so easy to come by, then why don't you do that? Why aren't you picking up that kind of work? Even though, because Steve makes it seem like he has a lot of money saved up. So right now he really doesn't need to work because he's got this huge saving. And I really want to know how much is in his savings account. Is like 100,000, like 500,000, a million? Like, what is your savings account looking like for you to be this relaxed and this easygoing about not working right now? Because even if you have a savings account, you still need to be productive. Okay. You just can't live off of your savings, because it's going to deplete unless you have some type of, I don't know what they call it, money that's making money, or some type of investments where every month you're getting a fat check deposited into your account without really working. I mean, if that's not the case, even if that is the case, you still need to be productive. I mean, you just can't be hanging around at the house all day. So, getting a full-time job, he said, is not in his near future, because him and Noi were talking about that. And he told her, I really didn't realize after we talked to Pastor Cal, I really didn't realize how me not working was, affecting you, and how it was a really big deal to you. What? Steve, you don't think that would bother your wife or anybody? That, I mean, it bothers me, and I don't know who you are, and it bothers me that you don't work. And so he was like, yeah, I didn't realize that really bothered you that much. And she was like, yeah, I'm a little concerned about that. I'm a little worried about that. And he told her, you know what, getting a full-time job is not on my list of priorities right now. So I don't know what you're going to do about that. He's like, that's a you problem, not a me problem, because I'm fine where I'm at, living off my savings. And then he says that he's self-employed. That's another word that he likes to use. He says, well, being self-employed, just allows me to just kind of have this freedom just to, are you self-employed? Are you unemployed? Are you in between jobs? Are you a freelancer? What is up, Steve? So Steve says that he lives on his own terms and he wants to better himself, but Noy doesn't seem, yeah, he says that's another thing he said in his confessional. He says, you know what? I'm figuring myself out. This is what I want to do. I want to just, figure myself out. And I don't know who told Steve that saying those words as a grown adult man, I think in his 30s, it's okay. You figure yourself out when you're in your 20s. You're trying to figure out, do I want to go to college? Do I want to just travel? Do I want to pick up a trade? That's when you're trying to figure yourself out. By the time you're in your 30s, you need to kind of be set on some type of a trajectory, some type of a plan, some type of security. You don't, and especially since you came from security, now you're trying to figure yourself out. I don't think that's how it works. And he's really adamant about living his life the way he wants to live his life. And basically, Noy needs to get with the program, or I don't know, she needs to figure it out. And Noy says in her confessional that, yeah, he does a lot of talk about figuring himself out, and how he can pick up freelance work here and there. And she says, but I don't see a lot of action behind those words. So at their house party, they talk about, all their friends come over and they talk about the whole children thing, because I think one of the friends asked, so what about the children? How many kids are y'all going to have, or something to that effect? And then Steve was like, well, it's not even a matter of how many kids we're going to have. It's just a matter of whether or not we're going to have, I don't know what he was trying to say. Like, if he was trying to figure out if he wanted, I don't know what he was trying to say. He does want children for a fact. I know that. He said that multiple times. He does want children. But anyway, the bottom line is the number of children, that issue came up again. And so Noy said that, she wanted to have 3 children. And Steve said that it's not about her wanting to have 3 children. It's like a hard 3 children. She is adamant on having 3 children. There's like no 2, no 4, no 6, no 1. It has to be 3 children. And Steve said, I don't have an issue with her wanting to have 3 children. My issue is her unwillingness to be open-minded and flexible on that, on something like that, which I think he definitely had a point there. I don't get her whole thing of having 3. Yes, you could have 3, you can aim for 3, whatever. But the way she is kind of like, there's like no life if she doesn't have 3 children. Like, life is just going to be unbearable for her if she doesn't have 3 children. So what if you have quadruplets? What happens if you have twins and then you're infertile? You can't have any more children. She acts like it's just, I'm not accepting anything else but 3 children. It's just bizarre to me. It's absolutely bizarre. I would even maybe kind of sympathize with her if she said, look, I'm very superstitious. Everything has to come in 3s for me. So that's why I want 3 children. I could kind of be like, okay, I've seen people like that before who are really into numbers, doing things a certain number of times, having a certain number of things. I kind of get that. But she just gives no rhyme or reason other than, well, I was one of 3 and then people in my family have 3 kids. I need something more than that, Noy. So his issue is like, she's like, okay, if she can be this unflexible in something like this, where the normal human is flexible, where else is she unflexible about? Steve says, no, his friend tells Noy that, because she talked about how she's a little bit concerned about, the financial aspect of their relationship, and he's not having a job or not willing to work or whatever. And the friends tell him, well, don't really worry about that because he has a great network. The friend says, I'm in sales engineering and my company is always looking for people to hire. So he will always have that opportunity to go back into sales engineering. And so Noy is like, Really. So he has this great network. He can jump right back into his old career, but he chooses not to. Because at 30 something years old, your boy is still trying to find himself, even though he's married and wants to have a family. So then something really bizarre happened between these people. Like, I did not get this at all. I was so confused. So there was an incident where I guess Noi was cooking noodles for them, and she had to cook two separate types of noodles. Hers was gluten free, and his was just regular pasta, I guess. So when he came into the kitchen, he made a comment about how she was cooking her noodles first and not his. I guess he wanted her to cook them in different pots, but at the same time, I don't know. And then when she began to cook his or whatever, I don't know, something happened and the noodles got overcooked. And he made a comment about it. And it was something like, oh, so you're letting the noodles overcook, or you're letting my noodles overcook. He made some kind of sly remark. It wasn't that bad, but if you're already having a bad day and you're the one that's like going to work every day and you see your husband just lollygagging around, probably playing video games all day, you know, that little sly remark that he made about the noodles can make you kind of go off the edge. So she got really upset because she felt like he was criticizing her. He was being too critical of her. And she's, making this meal for him. And so she packed up her stuff and she left. She was gone for the night. She didn't answer not one call from him. She didn't respond to not one text from him. And even though I feel like I kind of understand her frustration, because I know it cannot be about the damn noodles. I know it wasn't about the noodles, because she could have just been like, cook them yourself. I mean, goddamn, just cook them yourself. It wasn't for her to leave like that. First of all, it was really immature, unacceptable as a married couple to do that. You don't just leave whenever you get mad about your husband saying something about your cooking. So it's got to be more than that. And I think it was just a whole frustration. I don't know. Steve kind of comes off as kind of like he's got a real smart mouth, and like really slick and smart mouth. And he seems like he kind of walks around with this kind of arrogance about him. Like, yes, I have the ability to not work if I don't want to. And, if you can't get on the program, if you can't get with the program on that, then I just don't know what to tell you. And like, he kind of has that, you know what, just like she's not flexible with the kids, he's not flexible about his employment status. So they got that in common. So she probably had enough. And I think it's really the frustration that she has. I think it's really coming from him not working and her feeling like, okay, even though he might be contributing now from his savings, she probably feels like at some point he's not going to be able to contribute anymore with his savings. And he's either going to be forced to get a job, a full-time job, or she's going to be the one supporting him. I think that's what her real fear is that she's living with living with a man that she's potentially going to have to probably support. I think that's what really made her leave that house, but she shouldn't have left. So she ends up leaving. So she's gone all night, and she don't come back until the next day. But okay, before she came back home, he looked on social media, and she's one of those people, which really bugs the hell out of me when people do this. She left some kind of cryptic post on her social media. Who knows what the hell it said, but she was alluding to, issues at home. Just couldn't come right out and say it. Like, if you're not going to come right out and say it, nobody wants to read your cryptic message and try to put the pieces together and try to play Inspector Gadget into trying to figuring out what the hell you're talking about or what do you mean. Say what you got to say or don't say nothing at all. So he saw that post, and when she came home, he didn't like it. So she comes home the next day, and when she finally gets ready to talk, she says, you know what, I just needed time. I didn't like what you said. I didn't like how you came at me, because I'm trying to cook for you, make a meal for you. Girl, you're making pasta. You're boiling pasta. It's not like you were slaving away for 6 hours making a gourmet meal, a 6-course, 7-course gourmet meal, okay? And you had to go catch the fish yourself and bake the bread from scratch. And then he comes home and he's like, oh, the carrots are kind of undercooked. It wasn't like that. It was just some damn pasta. So she said, well, I didn't like how you talked to me, what you said about the pasta, because I'm slaving away cooking for you, and you made your little remark about the pasta, and I just didn't. I thought that was rude. I didn't think that was right. So she ended up leaving. She thought she was justified in walking out. And he said to her, no, I understand you need your space. I have no problem with that. But I need you to communicate with me. If you needed your space, tell me. Respond to my calls, respond to my texts. Let me know, hey, you know what? I'm mad at you right now. So I'm going to bounce for a little bit. Just give me a couple of minutes and then I'll be back. And just to let you know, if you call me, text me, I'm not going to respond. I'm not trying to be rude or nothing, but I need my space. Communicate with him and definitely don't leave. So he didn't like that at all. On this particular issue, I was more on Steve's side. So, she says, well, we handle things differently. You want to talk it out. I want to bounce. We just handle it differently. And then he also said, and don't post our issues on social media. He says, you know how many of my family members follow you? So when they read that, they're going to be, hounding me about, oh my God, is everything okay at home? Why didn't Noy post that? And are y'all okay? And he doesn't want to, you don't want your family all up in your business like that. So I thought he made a good point. Don't be putting your personal stuff on social media. Please don't, Noy. Kind of, grow up on that. Katina and Olajuwon. So okay, this is when it gets interesting. So Olajuwon talks to his really good friend and a friend of 10 years. And of course, the friend is like, oh, so how are things going? How's married life? So on and so forth. Olajuwon tells us that he really admires this particular friend because his friend's been married for a while, has a beautiful son. So I guess, he would take his advice to heart. And, so they talk about the intimacy in the relationship, and Elijah one's like, yeah, we really haven't crossed that bridge yet. And the friend was shocked. The friend in his own confessional was like, I am really surprised that they haven't consummated their marriage yet, because the way that I know Elijah one, that marriage would have been consummated like within a minute into their honeymoon. So what is going on? And so Elijah one gives this excuse that, well, I don't know. He says something like he's trying to connect with her emotionally or something like that. And so the friend said for him to have this kind of mental block about the intimacy could possibly mean that maybe she's the one. I'm like, none of this is making any sense to me. I'm just going to be really plain. I don't want to go too deep into it because I don't think it's that deep of an issue. But you don't want to be intimate with your legally married, legally bounded wife because you're trying to connect with her on a more emotional level or something like that. And so your friend interprets that as, oh, she must be the one then because you're not even one. So then I thought maybe the reason why is because maybe for most of his life, Olajuwon has used sex with women as, for him, sex has always been very casual, no meaning, no love, no affection, just hit it and quit it kind of thing. And so now that he has a wife and maybe he sees her differently, he doesn't want to treat her the way he's treated his past conquests. Just like, okay, maybe he's worried that, okay, if I sleep with her right away, I'm going to lose interest, like the way that I've lost interest with women in the past after I've used them up for their bodies and then I'm bored with them. I'm no longer interested. So maybe he's worried that that's what's going to happen between him and Katina. So he's trying to hold off and hold off and hold off until he can be emotionally connected to her to the point where once they do become intimate, he won't feel like he needs to pull away. He'll feel like he actually wants to get closer to her because he has this strong emotional connection. And I thought, okay, maybe that kind of makes sense. So he wants that love, that affection to build up, that emotion to build up for her so that when it does happen and after when it's over, he still wants to be with her. He's not like, okay, I've used you for all your worth, so I'm no longer interested. So that kind of makes sense to me. So, but I don't think we have to go that deep into it though. So, Katina meets with, her friend, and this was a really interesting conversation. So they talk about, his crazy dance at the wedding, and the friend was like, yeah, I didn't think that was too cool because it was like in front of all their family, in front of her mother, he was doing that strip dance thing on their wedding day, and the friend was like, yeah, that was kind of a bit much. So then Olajuwon talks, so then the friend tells her, well, when we met with Olajuwon the day after the wedding, when we had the brunch with him, he talked a lot. He talked way too much. And the friend said, I kind of felt like he was using all that talking as a mechanism to avoid answering our questions, because the more he talked, the less we would ask questions. And so he was just trying to constantly talk so that we wouldn't, grill him. And so then it comes out that Olajuwon has never really dated black women, and Katina is his first black relationship. And Katina said to her friend, "Wait a minute, I don't think I'm his first black girl. I think I'm the first black girl he's ever had a serious relationship with." Katina, girl, I don't think Olajuwon has ever had a serious relationship with anybody. So if he told you he's never been with a black girl, I don't know how he spun it to you. Most likely he was trying to tell you he's never been with a black girl, period. Because I don't think Olajuwon has had a serious relationship with a black, white, purple, or polka dotted girl. He hits it and he quits. Hit it, quit it. Okay? Okay. So the friend is like really concerned about this. So the friend was like, I'm really concerned that you're with someone who's never been with a black girl. And Katina was like, but he's black. He's black. And so the friend said, yes, he's a black man with a mohawk. He's because I think Katina said, he is mixed. Oh yeah, that's what Katina said. Katina said, the friend said, okay, I'm kind of concerned that he's never been with a black girl. And then Katina was like, well, he's mixed with Irish. And then the friend said, but he's a black man. He shows up as black. He looks black, even though he's got a mohawk or whatever. He's a black man. He appears to the world as a black man. No one's going to mistake him for a white man. And so that's when Katina was like, well, he's dated black girls before, whatever, whatever. I'm his first real black relationship. And the friend was kind of like, oh, yeah, I don't think so. And so the friend was like really concerned about that. And I felt I felt like Katina was his first black relationship when they were on their honeymoon. And there was that scene towards the end of their honeymoon when they were in the bed together and they had like a really serious conversation and they were holding hands. And then as they were holding hands, Olajuwon said, so this is black love. And the way he said that at that moment, I said, yeah, I don't think he's ever been in a relationship with a black girl before, because it was kind of like he was realizing, oh, so this is what it means when people say black love. Like this was his first experience with it. So I don't know, but for some reason, Katina was like Team Olajuwon. She was defending her man, that he doesn't have an issue with her being black, because I'm pretty sure that it'd be kind of difficult for her to deal with if she was married to a black man who had an issue being married to a black woman. So that's that. Moving on to their house party. The house party was fine. Her friends, they did grill him a little bit. I felt like when her friends were grilling him, and neither one of the friends were the ones that was the one that was questioning, Olajuwon's black identity or whatever. So what I felt like when he was talking to her friends, he came to me as disingenuous. I didn't really, it's something about him when he was talking to her friends. It was like he wasn't there for it. Like he was just kind of like, well, I'm just going to say all the right things to get these women off my back. Like he really didn't want to talk. That's how I felt. I could have been interpreting it wrong. I just felt like he really wasn't feeling it. It wasn't fun for him. He was saying the right things because at the end of the day, they ended up liking him. I guess he passed the test for them. But I felt like he was just like, oh, they're probably going to grill me about my past or about how sincere I am about Katina. And like, he just really wasn't there for that. And so he was just going to, read from his mental script, because a player knows the right things to say to women and, get this over with. That's how it came across to me. And then Olajuwon cut his hair for Katina because Katina, I guess, had an issue with his mohawk or whatever. So he cut his hair for her. So he's all clean shaven now and, all edged up, and she likes it. So everybody goes bowling. Everybody meets at the bowling alley. And the first issue that we have is, okay, Steve makes a comment and he says, Steve says that he says that at the bowling alley, there's this tension between him and Noi because of their fight. And he was like, I kind of feel bad about that because all the other couples were looking at us as the shining example. Who told you that? When was that said? That they were looking at you and Nora as a shining example? I mean, all y'all have issues. And Steve, you're still unemployed, so I don't understand what you're saying. So Mark said he never had a taco. So when they talked about that, it was shocking that this man living in Boston never had a taco. Like, what the hell? So he never had a taco. And he talked about how Lindsey made a taco for him, or she talked about how she made a taco for him, and it was really good and he liked it. And somebody asked, was he blindfolded? And she was like, no, but then she made some type of, sexual innuendo, and it fell really flat with that crowd. It was just like all you could hear were crickets. And Mark was looking embarrassed yet again. So then Lindsey's Lindsey's then they talk about living with the opposite sex, and do you leave the toilet seat up or down, blah blah blah, so on and so forth. And then someone said, they're talking about that, and then Lindsey brings up another inappropriate comment about, I don't even want to repeat what she said, but it was inappropriate. And it's like, oh my god, this, like, read the room, Lindsey. People are not interested in your dirty jokes. Okay, they're not interested in your dirty jokes. Once again, Mark is embarrassed. Then Lindsey and Katina, Chris and Alyssa arrive. I'm like, why? Why are they here? The producers could just tell everybody, hey, Lindsey and Chris, not Lindsey and Chris, Alyssa and Chris are not going to be joining us because it didn't work out. They're going to be getting a divorce. Carry on. But for whatever reason, they had to show up. So Chris and Alyssa show up. And then there's a tiff between Lindsey and Katina. Lindsey was saying something, and it was inappropriate, I guess. She was saying something. No, it wasn't inappropriate. It was just that nobody understood what the hell she was talking about. And then Katina rolled her eyes. And Lindsey said to Katina, why are you rolling your eyes at me? So Olajuwon is telling Katina to chill. Mark is telling Lindsey to chill. And Lindsey, obviously, you tell her to chill, you're going to get her amped up. Okay, it's going to have the opposite effect. So then Chris and Alyssa announced that they're divorced, whatever. Everybody saw it coming. Noi seems really out of character because I guess her fight with Steve. She's not her cheerful, bubbly self. She just really seems out of character. Once again, attention back to Alyssa and Chris. Alyssa starts crying. Her fake tears. Now I realize why she was following Katina all around on the boat when Katina and Lindsey had their big falling out on the boat on the honeymoon, and Katina got up to walk away from Lindsey, and then Alyssa was following her around, acting like, she was her best friend for life. Oh girl, it's gonna be okay. This is what you need to do when you get back there. Trying to console her and all this other stuff. Now I know why. It wasn't because she really felt anything for Katina. Because she wanted camera time. That's what it was. She wanted camera attention. Because when she was doing her fake cries, her fake tears at the bowling alley, it looked so fake to me. The way she kept on dabbing at the corners of her eyes. And you know what? It was so fake, so played. Nobody cared. Nobody got up to console her. You just announced to your friends, to your girls, your girls that you wanted to spend time with every day, your girls who you thought you could be hanging out with while you lived in that apartment all by yourself and your husband was, who knows where. You wanted to chill with your girls all the time. Yeah, you just announced that you're getting a divorce and your girls, not a single one of them, came up to console you. So then at some point, Lindsey and Mark get into a fight. Lindsey was upset about Mark coming at her or telling her to chill when she told Katina, why are you rolling your eyes at me? And Mark was like, you know what? You don't have to react to every little thing that someone does. You should have just let it go. And then Lindsey, but she was being rude. She was being rude to me. And Mark is like, who cares? Just ignore it. The girl rolled her eyes. So what? Why are you giving it any life, any attention? If she was wrong for doing that, why do you want to girl? Anyways, so Mark didn't like that. Mark was like, I just don't like it. This is what I'm talking about. This is the embarrassment that I'm talking about. I don't like being around you when you're like this. And so he starts to walk away, and she says, okay, what are you going to do? Call your mom? You're going to go live with your mom? You're going to go stay with your mom? Absolutely uncalled for, rude and disrespectful. So then, they, at some point before he walked away, they were talking about, she said something like, no, he said to her, you're never there for me because I'm telling you, I'm having an issue with how you're behaving and how it's affecting me and how it's making me feel. And she says, well, what about all I've done for you? I went into your roach infested apartment in a hazmat suit. What about all I did for you? So they do this tit for tat thing of what I did for you, what I did for you. I'm playing for the team, you're playing for the tit for tat, tit for tat, tit for tat. That's when he decides to walk away. And that's when she says, what are you going to do? Call your mom and go stay with her? Because, his mom's in a facility. And I'm like, girl, why would you bring his mother into this? What has she done to you? And so she runs into the bathroom, and Mark sits down to talk to Chris, and he's telling Chris, all the issues he's having with Lindsey. And he's like, you know what? I don't know if I can take this anymore. I don't like it when she gets like this. And in the bathroom, we don't see her, but her mic is on. And she just completely emasculates this man. I mean, I hate it. I hate it when women, when they're having an issue with their male counterparts, the first thing they do is they try to emasculate him. I think that's really like boring, it's old, it's played, it's like come up with some new material. So she's like, she talks about how he's horrible in bed, how she's not satisfied. She talks about how he's only making $60,000 a year selling gym memberships. I mean, just every issue, I guess, that she's had with them that she felt like she couldn't express, or because she's trying to make it work, or whatever issues that whatever she saw that was lacking in him, according to her, that she was just probably just trying to accept because this is the guy that they matched me with and I'm supposed to accept him. She's letting it all out. Doesn't make enough money. Does nothing for me in bed. What else did she say for him? Say about him? Oh, and how he's just not a man. She goes, don't get mad at me because I've got more balls than you. I mean, she just really went at him because he's not willing to fight with people at the drop of a dime. He's not man enough for her. Wow. So she's like, she doesn't want to be married to him. She's through with it. She's done with him. He's done with her. But then, seems for the next episode, they're hunky dory again. So we'll see how that worked out. Anyways, if you made it this far, thank you so much. I appreciate you more than you'll ever know. Please don't forget to like, thumbs up, or thumbs down, whatever. Comment. And above all, subscribe. Join the family. Thank you so much, and I'll talk to you later.